The Gusteau Ghost Conspiracy by Infinity Bolt. Part 0 Introduction. This goes without saying, Remy from the movie Ratatouille is a total jerk. He manipulates, puts his friends and family at risk, resents being helpful to his family, has internalized racism against his own kind, mocks the dead guy who was his hero, and has single-handedly contributed to a possible resurgence of the Black Death due to his poor hygiene and disregard for consumer protection laws. This is already common knowledge, and in retrospect, probably not that relevant at all to this theory. My real question is how such a fan of Gusteau would not know that he was dead all this time. It's been said in the movie he's been dead for 2 years. How has he not heard of this by now? Part 1, Addressing Occam's Razor. Rats typically have a lifespan of like 1 to 2 years, so Remy is probably less than a year old, and has only been cooking for a few months, so that still wouldn't explain it, because the lady has the TV on all the time on the cooking channel. Even if he's only been cooking for a few months, how has this news not reached him? Before we can solve that, we have to solve yet another mystery. In the movie Rat Kablooey, Remy sees the specter of Gusteau, who gives him generic anyone can cook advice. He claims to just be a figment of Remy's imagination. So how does he see a linguine cooking when Remy isn't looking at him? Clearly, he has at least some mental autonomy. Part 3, more than just a hallucination. So obviously Gusteau is speaking to Remy as a psychic projection, either as a plain old ghost or a manifestation of Remy's imagination. For the sake of choosing one, let's say the former, because if the latter interpretation, this has horrifying implications, which would honestly make an interesting idea, but I could see evidence either way, so we're saying the ghost interpretation. Part 4, is Remy even a rat? I mean, he can cook, he can understand human language, both in verbal and written form, and can stand on his hind legs. I'm pretty sure that rats can do all that with human training, but without... I know the whole point of this movie is that anyone can cook, but of course I'm skeptical about any movie whose name cannot be spelled. Part 5, the part when I get to the actual point already. So Remy's mind has somehow intersected with the afterlife and or the collective psychospace. This would explain visions of Gusteau and how he didn't know about Gusteau's death until just before he was kicked out of the countryside and into Paris. I believe that Gusteau's ghost has been manipulating Remy's whole life all for this moment. Part 5.1, Elaboration. After Gusteau died, he would enter the collective psychospace, allowing him to subtly influence the minds of simpler creatures, such as rats. He would subtly influence Remy to take on an interest in cooking and discover a talent and love for it. To ensure Remy would continue to have a hero to be inspired by, he would erase details about his own death so that Remy could focus on honing his skill without a fear of criticism of his product. I mean, how do you think he would turn out if he learned that, oh yeah, the guy who says anyone could cook no matter where you came from, oh yeah, he died because someone didn't like what he cooked? I mean, he already had the stress of the old lady or his father finding out about, his cooking. Part 5.2, Gusteau's limits. Gusteau was only able to erase certain memories, sort of see the future in order to actually make this master plan, and subtly suggest things to Remy. Keep in mind, this is prior to when he left the old lady's house. And the last thing, subtly suggesting, might not even be a thing he could do. I think Remy might just be naturally inclined to cooking, so yeah, he had this master plan, but it was kind of a desperate measure. All that is bad enough, but human minds are also clearly off limits for Gusteau, limiting him to working with Remy, because he clearly has ulterior motives. Gusteau could only fully manifest given the extreme stress of Remy losing his home, his family, his livelihood, and being swept away into a sewer. Part 5.3, why though? Okay, so I had this whole idea to cut up this theory into 2 parts. Part 1 being about the psychospace intersection, and Part 2 being about a grand human conspiracy relating all this to Gusteau's motives. And while I will probably revisit the grand human conspiracy, the Gusteau's motives for manipulating this rat's life is really simple. He's a ghost with unfinished business, and that business is to get Anton Ego to the point at the end of the movie when he understands the true meaning of ratatouille, thus undoing the humiliation that sent Gusteau to his death. I'm not sure what he thought of the fact that his manipulations would also lead to the end of his restaurant, but I suppose he either couldn't predict that with his ghost powers and he knew that and accepted it. If the latter interpretation, then he either really didn't like frozen food being sold to Americans and couldn't bother traveling thousands of miles overseas to spend trillions for some premium soup, and or was just willing to make that sacrifice to complete his unfinished business with Ego, or to prove a point to Ego, which falls into the category of unfinished business, I guess. But yeah, to conclude, I really wanted to tie in the nature of rat intelligence and narco-primitivism into this, but I didn't have time. Ultimately, I chose to make a shorter theory, and at worst, I can just revise or elaborate on points in this theory later on when I'm not on a time crunch. But yeah, I guess, Gusteau was planning on, encouraging this rat to cook in order to teach Ego about, the true meaning of food. I really wanted there to be some darker, motive, like, oh, he's running this dark, drug trafficking conspiracy, but not everything can be, oh, the chicken man is getting absorbed into his suit by an evil corporation, or, oh, not all theories have to be dark and depressing and scary. I mean, he does, mentally manipulate people, but that's hardly worse than what Remy does. But yeah, that was the Ratatata Gusteau Ghost Conspiracy. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.